Welcome to episode 124 of How About the Huskies. As always, I'm Connor, joined by Matt and Andrew. And for the second straight season, UConn sweeps the season series against the Marquette Golden Eagles. The number 20 Golden Eagles came to Stores in a game that almost didn't happen because of a leaky roof. We'll talk about that probably, but Huskies won 72 to 66. This was the return, and he's been solid as of late, but I feel like it's safe to say the official return of Alex Caravan. 21 points, hit the dagger three to really end Marquette's hopes of winning the game. Just really solid play from him all around. Solid play from pretty much the whole team all around. All in all, a much needed win that puts the Huskies in the driver's seat for the 3 seed come Big East tournament.
If you watch us on YouTube, I usually wear Connor's hat, the one that he's wearing, because it's my favorite hat that I own. But for this episode, I decided to wear one that just says one word on it, and that word is stores. And last night was a reminder that this word right here is the basketball capital of the world in the United States of America. Because this season has been quite a roller coaster, and there's been a bunch of question marks. But if you didn't watch last night, if you weren't there, then I honestly feel bad for you because you missed the basketball capital world coming alive like it's never been before.
It's pretty crazy, roller coaster of a season to the point where, we were third in the country at the beginning of it, and I mean, we fizzled all the way out of that top 25, and we were a little unsure of where we stood in March. There were even some question marks on whether or not we'd be playing. But I mean, for a team that's gone through this much turmoil to still be this competitive this deep into the season shows some real resolve. And I mean, I'm just, proud of the team. I'm proud of Hurley. Everybody has kind of bought in, I think, officially. I think we're at that point of the season where everybody's on board with Hurley. No, there's no really question marks anymore about any personalities. And I honestly think this is just the tip of the iceberg of, what might be a great March run once again.
And I don't like bringing this up so early in the podcast, but it's on my mind, so I want to say I feel like we almost have played ourselves out of an 8-9 game and up to a 7. And you may be questioning because you see Evero has us as an 8. Most places honestly have us as a 9. That's a tongue twister. But you got to remember the committee takes into consideration teams missing players for significant portions of time due to injury, especially star players like Liam McNeely. They're going to take into consideration that we probably would have. It's not a stretch to say 2 or 3 more wins, at least if McNeely was healthy. So they do take that into consideration, and just the fact that we have these big signature wins. We have the 4 quad 1A. I don't know if we added one. I don't think Marquette at home is a quad 1A, but it's just we have some bad losses like the Seton Hall one and the Colorado one. But I feel like the committee is always everyone always says the committee hates UConn. I feel like they almost respect them this year in a way, seeing they've won back-to-back titles. They usually rank Final Four teams from the previous year higher. Last year, everyone thought FAU was on the bubble or maybe even the first team out. They were in the 8-9 game. San Diego State was a 5 seed last year. I feel like all these teams that made the Final Four the year before usually get a little bit of grain of salt, I guess, and they usually are ranked a little higher. So personally, I feel like we're on the 7 line right now, which honestly, I'd rather be a 10 than an 8 looking at some of these 1 seeds.
And this is going to be the most dangerous 7 to 10 seed if we do end up in that range ever, in my opinion. I mean, just the way that we play, that our coach, and everything we've been through the past 3 years, it's built a very deep and very well coached and organized squad. I'd hate to be like a 9 or a 10 or even in the next round, maybe like a 5 or a 4 coming to play us because I don't know who's going to stop this team in the first weekend.
I mean, honestly, what Matt just said is right. We're going to be a very dangerous 7 to 10 seed. I've talked to my friends who are Auburn fans. I've talked to my friends who are Duke fans, and neither of them want to see us as their second game because they don't think that they'd be, completely ready for a team like this in the second round. You're not supposed to play a really good, like, I was going to say valuable. That's not the word, experienced team in the second round. And I feel like that we could break a lot of brackets because I know that a lot of people are still out the doors. We could have won every last game after Maui. I know I'm not supposed to say that word, but we could have won every last game after that, and they still would have wrote us off just because of those 3 losses. So I think that we're really trending in the right direction, that we're going to be a very dangerous 7 to 10 seed.
Andrew, I feel like we should kick you off the podcast for saying the M word. I'll let it slide because I know it was a slip up you caught yourself. But I agree to your point where you say that your Auburn and Duke friends don't want to see UConn. I think it's the other way around for us. I want to see those teams. I want to see whoever because I'm confident in Dan Hurley that he can get it done against whatever they throw in front of him. He always talks about how the NCAA tournament play is different than Big East play, which we've seen. We've dominated the NCAA tournament, struggled a little bit in the Big East the past couple, not last year, but this year especially, you struggled, and the year before last year when we had that skid in January. So Huskies usually struggle in the Big East, but they don't have much of a problem for the most part, except the M word in non-conference play. But we'll talk about this game a little more here. Alex Caravan, like I said, 21 points, 7 boards. Samson Johnson was awesome. First career double-double, which is surprising, but not at the same time. 10 points, 11 boards. Those 11 boards are career high for him. His career high coming in was 8. And for a guy who started at center for you all year, for him to not have any game with more than 8 boards until yesterday, it's just not ideal, but we've made it work, I guess. But he had some awesome plays, 7 offensive boards. He had that steal and then the N1 finish. Couldn't hit the free throw, but he showed signs of a guy who didn't lose any confidence when he was playing 7 minutes one game, 8 the game before, because Terrace Reed was out playing him. He looked like a guy that is ready for anything, and I feel like that's the type of guy you need in March. You're not always going to have your best game, but your next game could be your best game. You have to look at it that way.
Samson really has gotten the better of Ben Gold all season long. If you look back, even at that first game, he played a sort of unprecedented 27 minutes for Samson Johnson. He had 13 and 4 and a block. I mean, Terrace kind of got played out of that game by Samson. He only played 13 minutes. So, I mean, it's good to see this kind of switching of the roles. I mean, I feel like I've been a hater all year of this whole matchups thing. I don't know, but I mean, you got to give flowers when flowers are due, and Samson Johnson has gotten the better of Marquette. I'd say he's the main reason, or one of the main reasons, why we've beaten them both times. We got great performances at AK, and Solo always shows up, but um, definitely a sleeper player here for why we beat, a top 25 team twice is Samson Johnson. That's very nice to say going into March.
Yeah, Terrace didn't have his best game. What did I have in the box here? He played 15 minutes, had 4.6 boards, 2 assists, including the biggest assist of our season, finding Alex Caravan back out for that three. But yeah, I feel like Sampson, he's a guy who has a very high ceiling and a very low floor every game. The floor is he plays 7 minutes and does nothing except a couple of fouls. The ceiling is this, a double-double, being very athletic on both ends. I knew my player to watch for the preview, or my matchup to watch, excuse me, was Terrace Reed against Ben Gold, knowing Ben Gold wasn't a guy who's a defensive-oriented big and someone you could take advantage of. I assumed Terrace would be the one taking advantage, but it was Sampson in this one. Who else we got here? Hassan Diarra had some big moments as well, some big drives to the hoop. That's something we've been missing. He's looked in the first half. I was a little worried because he looked as hurt as he's looked over the past couple of weeks. But the second half, he really stepped it up and looked healthy. Had some big plays, hit some big free throws down the stretch. 5 boards, 5 assists for him as well. Solo ball, bit of a quiet night. He struggled. 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 5 from deep, just 10 points. But he, even if Solo's not scoring, just his presence on the floor as a guy who can knock down 3 or 4 threes in a span of a couple minutes, that affects the defense mentally, and that's something that I feel like is a positive that we haven't really had much of this season until Solo's breaking out. And then Liam McNeely, 4 for 18 from the field, not his night at all, 3 of 9 from deep. But I feel like if you were to tell me Liam went 4 for 18, I wouldn't have noticed. It's not like he was taking bad shots or just hurting the team much. It's just he just wasn't hitting his shots, and we got 19 offensive rebounds, a bunch of them off his misses, so we still converted on the possessions. But yeah, if you were to tell me after the game or had me guess, I feel like 4 for 18 would be one of the last things I'd go with.
In my opinion, like to me, I saw this game kind of looking like that first Creighton game, um, where we kind of contained Ashworth and Kalkbrenner, but Jemiah Neal went crazy. This was kind of looking like that a little bit at the start. David Joplin was unstoppable for a good portion of that first half, and I think we did a very good job game planning. Outside of Joplin, I think that might have been the idea, but keeping Cam Jones and Stevie Mitchell relatively quiet. I mean, Cam Jones still had 21 points, but I mean, 9 of 20 from the field and 0 of 5 from three. I mean, you can't really ask for more than that. He's he's going to get votes for Player of the Year, and he probably will be the Big East Player of the Year and win all those awards. But UConn did a great job of making sure he could not take over the game, especially in the end when there were plenty of chances for him to. And the defense of AK and Liam, I mean, it came through. And I mean, I was mentioning it before, but now that these guys are on the same court again, they're looking like their best selves. And, it took a little bit of time, but overall, it was great to see these two kind of keep Cam Jones in check and, do enough on the offensive end to pull out the win.
Yeah, you take Robin away from Batman, or the analogy that Liam used, you take a Padawan away from his Jedi, the Star Wars reference there. Caravan, a bunch of his struggles were during the time Liam was out. Now that he's been back for now over a month, actually technically under a month, he came back February 7th for that St. John's game. I feel like they're really hitting their stride at the right time. I mean, three consecutive wins after trading win loss for the past pretty much 6 weeks beforehand. I just feel like this team, I'm reiterating my exact point because I can't think of anywhere to put it. They're hitting their stride at the right time going into March. Hopefully, with a win on senior day against Seton Hall. We're not talking about that game yet, but just if this team wins four straight games going into the Big East tournament and avoids the 4-5 game, more importantly, so you play like a struggling Villanova, that could be 5 wins in a row. And then you have a lot of momentum. Even if you drop in the Big East tournament, it's not the end of the world because I'll take winning 5 of 6 to close the season going into NCAA's any day of the week.
You need to get out of this 4-5 mainly because the winner of that plays St. John's, if I'm correct. And that's a team that we struggled with all year. I mean, if we don't have to play them until the Big East Championship, I like our odds, gain a little momentum, like you just said. And I mean, if you can kind of beat these teams, beat these Marquettes or these Creightons or these chippy teams, I think you have a good chance of getting a higher seed come selection Sunday.
You got those Xavier in that group too. That's a team I really, if you're in the 4-5 game, you're going to be playing Xavier, a team that is on the bubble. And for some reason, most people have them on the wrong side of the bubble over like a 4-12 SEC play Oklahoma team. But Xavier's going to need to win games to get into the tournament. So that's obviously we're going to try to win as well. But you don't want to play a hungry team in the first round of the Big East tournament. But yeah, I feel like it'd be a really shocking development if we don't get the 3 seed at this point. It would involve, and I guess it's not too shocking because it happened, it would involve us losing to Seton Hall, and we would need St. John's to lose to Marquette. We'd need the worst team to win and the best team to lose. So, not impossible, but I'm feeling pretty confident about where the Huskies are going into Saturday. Who else haven't really touched upon in this box score? I want to talk about the defense. I was going to do it, but I got distracted after Matt made his points. The 3-point defense was awesome. Partially us, partially Marquette just not being able to hit anything outside of David Joplin. They went 3 of 22, take away Joplin. They went 0 for 16 from deep. Cam Jones 0 for 5. Chase Ross 0 for 4. Stevie Mitchell 0 for 3. Everyone on their bench went 0 for 1, all four of them. So I mean, the 3-point defense was awesome. That you're going to need to stop teams from three, but inside the arc, they shot 13% from three and 43% overall. So quick math, that's 22 for 35 inside the arc, and that was a lot. They missed some at the end. That was like near 80% for a majority of the first half into the second half. They were just blowing by our guys. I feel like that's where you miss a guy like Klingon. You miss a shot blocking presence because they were getting easy look after easy look inside, but we finally adjusted. Caravan adjusted inside. Sampson, Terrace, whoever was down there, and figured it out. But yeah, just overall, the defense, I feel like, was what won us this game. Offensively, there were some timely shots, but also that 10-0 run. I almost skipped over that, but that was awesome. And we all know what ignited that 10-0 run. The number 2 play on Sports Center this morning. I made sure to tune in to see where it was. I was getting worried when it wasn't showing up, but it was number 2. It was Jalen Stewart. An incredible putback dunk, 10-0 run from there that was capped off by a Sampson slam, timeout Marquette, and we never really looked back from there and led the rest of the way. It's just we were missing a run like that. I feel like we've been missing runs like that all year. We tend to play with our food, if you will. We did in that St. John's game when we lost it, the one at home. We were up. It felt like we should have blown them out early in the first half. We let them hang around. Same thing happened with Marquette. Luckily, we went on that run to seal it. But yeah, all in all, a great defensive performance with the timely clutch shot making. We'll talk about the bench because I don't think we touched upon that yet. Aiden Mahaney, DNP. a week ago from when this game was, played 10 minutes, which is the most among non-Terrace Reeds off the bench, which is a little surprising. Ahmad Noel, nowhere to be found after being the first guard off the bench the game before. It's really just like picking at straws. You don't know which one you're going to get. We got Mahaney in this one. It could be Noel next game. Who knows, honestly. But Aiden did get his first points in almost a month, so shout out Aiden Mahaney.
In the last episode, I talked about getting a little production from the bench and not just zeros and then 32. You got to weigh it out a little bit. And we did get that production. Stewart had four, Mahaney had two, but they had 9 and 10 good minutes on the floor. Ross only had three because Caravan played 38 and McNeely had 31. So it wasn't a big, minutes game for the bench. But this is exactly what I talked about last episode, just getting these little contributions because anything is better than zero in the box score. So, except maybe fouls. But I had said it in the last episode, just a little production would be different, and it was fantastic in this game. It helped us win.
It may seem like our bench, has kind of struggled. I mean, in this game too, like we don't have any notable bench scorers, but as a whole, I mean, they kind of are putting it together. I mean, they only had 2 bench points, Marquette. I feel like, that kind of goes under the radar. Royce Parham played 15 minutes. Zayd Lowery didn't get any in 18 minutes. I mean, if you want, like they had a mess. That was a mess off the bench for them. And if we can kind of get these little bits and pieces of production, like Andrew said, off the bench, I mean, we're going to be fine because we have so many uh, offensive starters who can score at will. Alex Caravan, Liam McNeely, Solo Ball. These are all fantastic scores. And just being able to kind of bring someone in to complement these guys. I mean, Mahaney only took 2 shots. Stewart only took three, and they were very efficient. It wasn't like we just had a sticky bench situation. I think the bench is kind of hopefully coming together. I like Ahmad Noel. I just don't think it's his time. I think you got to continue to play Mahaney and just get him some open looks because he's a shot maker, and you got to put him in position to make shots.
Mahaney had a couple of times where he should have shot the three and passed it up. One of the times it was off an inbound. He was pretty much wide open, didn't shoot the three, settled for a contested jumper over, I think, Ben Gold that did not go in. But looking at the box score, I noticed this last night when I was looking it over too. We only had three dudes attempt threes the whole game. It was Solo, Alex, and Liam. No one else even attempted one. Usually you're good for a Hassan Diarra attempt a game. Aiden Mahaney, Jalen Stewart usually takes at least one, but we only had three guys. I feel like even if they don't go in, I'd rather see those guys take threes just to have that be a threat or an option. I don't you don't have to guard those guys on the perimeter if they're not even attempting threes like Mahaney wasn't, Stewart wasn't. You need those guys to at least be threats out there, and I know they are threats. If they shot them, I'm sure they'd go in because I'm confident in the guys off the bench, but I feel like we just need a little more. What Andrew said, not having all zeros, which it wasn't this game. It was we had 8 bench points. I guess compared to what 24 last game, that's a bit of an outlier. But 8 bench points between three guys is something we haven't really seen much of as of late. But yeah, just I want them to take more threes. I feel like obviously Marquette's a good perimeter defensive team, so that's part of the reason. But sometimes you just gotta throw them up and hope they go in.
Just gonna kind of go a little bit off topic here, but in my opinion, this game was kind of just a testament to how much Hurley really trusts Caravan, and I mean the coach that Hurley is, because when Caravan was struggling, he was still chucking up 5 threes a night, 6 threes a night. It wasn't like he ever stopped. I mean, I'm very happy with the way that the coaching staff kind of handled that whole slump. I mean, now to the point where he's still one of 3 players putting threes up in a marquee game against Marquette, and the game you need to win in order to move up. I mean, dude, who's had more confidence in Alex Caravan ever than Dan Hurley has? It's really ridiculous. I'm very glad that it's starting to pay off a little bit, and hopefully, it pays more dividends for us later as well.
Marquee game against Marquette is fun to say, but you guys got anything else about this marquee game against Marquette? Overall, much needed win, a game that puts us in great position going forward, both nationally and in the Big East.
It was a fantastic win, and I think this is a kind of win that you look back at 2, 3 weeks from now and you say, hey, that one was a season changer, especially after that loss to Seton Hall. I mean, this one feels like it kind of made up for it in that respect. So it was a big win and a win that you need not just now, but in a month.
Another win that you definitely don't just need now, but in a month because it would be detrimental is this Seton Hall game coming up. But before we get to that, I'm just checking NBA box scores. Tyrese Martin, 17 more points off the bench against the Warriors. Awesome to see that. I know me and Andrew did a bit of an NBA report after our last, or during our last episode, not after. That wouldn't make sense. But during our last episode, we did an NBA report. Good to see Tyrese +5 in a 2-point loss. Kind of play him more. Nets head coach, who I don't know your name.
He's coming up on LeBron pretty soon. I think he needs like 37,000 more points or 47,000 more points or something next game to get it. So if he can, come out and do what he does, I think, a couple more weeks and LeBron, he's got someone coming up on his tail.
Yeah, the only reason LeBron celebrated that accomplishment is because he knows he's not keeping it for long. But another shout out, I was at the Quinnipiac game tonight. They clinched the regular season title. Richie Springs cutting down the nets with the rest of his team. He's used to that. Just happy for Richie. He doesn't play much, but he always is impactful when he gets in there. But moving on to this Seton Hall game. Oh, the Seton Hall game. What remind me? We did a preview. Didn't catch the recap last time, but we did talk about how bad it would be if we lost to Seton Hall. I feel like things have changed, even if it's only been 3 weeks. I don't think that will happen again, especially on Hassan Diarra, Samson Johnson, and Alex Caravan's senior day. I can't envision that happening. I'd be more surprised if we didn't win by 20 points than if we were to lose the game. That's just how confident I am. But where are you guys at in this one, confidence level wise? Because obviously we haven't beaten them yet this season, even though they've only won two Big East games. But at the same time, it'd be really surprising if we were to lose this one.
I mean, I feel very confident going into this game. I know it's like weird to say when this team has upset you already, but I mean, this was a different UConn team than it was a month ago or whenever this game was. I kind of blocked it out of my memory, but we had Haas off the bench. Hobbled Haas was in full effect. We weren't entirely sure where that was going. He looks much better now. We'll have him in the starting lineup. We won't have to rely on Stu as much, even though he's a great player. That's not someone you're going to need to go out there and guard anybody. I don't know. It's weird because Seton Hall has a couple good players, Isaiah Coleman, but I mean, they're not a very deep squad. I don't really know where they beat us last time, except in they seemed like they just wanted to win more than us. I feel like that kind of mentality is gone. I feel like we've kind of flipped it, done a 180 on the season a little bit over the past few weeks. I feel like this win against Marquette just is going to do wonders for this squad. I feel like you're going to have a fully healthy Liam McNeely back and an AK who's more reliable as a scorer. I just don't see a world where you lose to this Hall team twice. They have two conference wins all year. I doubt that moves to three and two of them against us.
Yeah, I mean, clearly we took it too light last time. And on the guys' senior days, just win. I mean, I feel like I've said that a bunch of times, but they're not good. We can obviously we don't have to expose them because they couldn't get exposed for anything. But you're right. They wanted it more last time. We overlooked it and we didn't play well. In front of the fans for one last time. For three of these guys who've been immense parts of this program for the years that they've been here, you got to win this one. You can't lose this.
I mean, the seniors are the big talking point here, but I mean, how many of these guys are even going to be back next year? I mean, we're looking at Liam's last game. We're looking at Caravan's last game. Samson's gone. Haas, two-time national champion. This could be five guys, six guys. Final game, potentially even more, depending on how the offseason goes. But if we make a nice swing here in the postseason, things could change. But I feel like it's going to be a very emotional game. I feel like this is a game we could win by a lot. Just kind of like making up for last time in a way. But um, yeah, I mean, just shout out to all these guys playing probably their last game on the floor. And, best of luck to them.
Yeah, last year after we lost to Seton Hall, it was by 15. It wasn't what was it, 1 point this time around. So it was a little different. But we came out, we played them on senior day, ironically. I'm sure you both remember that game. It was the day we clinched the Big East regular season title. We cut down the nets. We won that game by 30, 91 to 61. I almost expect a similar result. I feel like this is going to be an angry bunch. Obviously, you hate losing to a team, especially a team like that who has two conference wins all year. One of them is you. That's bulletin board material almost. I'm very confident that the Huskies will pull it out. But anything can happen in the Big East because DePaul went into Providence and won. That says a lot more about Providence than it does about DePaul. But I guess we could just move. I don't. Is it worth doing matchups to watch? I feel like we don't know much about Seton Hall. That's disrespectful because we kind of overlooked them last time too, and look what happened. But we'll just do players to watch. Who are you guys looking out for on senior day?
I'm looking out for the senior Haas. Came off the bench last game, obviously, 2 of 5. I mean, he had 12 points, got to the line 4 times. I'm looking for a little more out of him here, just because he's sliding back into that starting role and he seems to be healthier. And that's kind of been the theme here is that he's kind of back on track to where he was at the start of the season. So I want to see him kind of come in and be that floor general that he is and lead us to a convincing victory here.
And I'm going with the other senior. I'm going to go with Samson, who's had a weird career per se. He was on the bench and he was hurt, then he's a backup, and now he's a full-time starter. So he's had quite the career here, like you said, two-time national champion. One of the guys that didn't transfer out. He was definitely a part of Andre Jackson's infamous tweet that we all know about. He did not transfer out after the disaster. I learned my lesson. I won't say this team's name, but the disaster in March from a couple years ago, we all know about. So I'm going to take him. He dominated first double-double, and I think that he's going to go out with one of the best games he's played as a Husky in the Seton Hall one.
And I was hoping y'all would catch on and each choose seniors to make this decision easy for me at the end. I'm going Alex Caravan. He's not technically a senior, but you remember he came early. He's a redshirt junior. He didn't miss a year. He just came a semester early, so he's graduating in May. That's why he's being honored. It's not he can come back. Will he come back or go pro? That doesn't matter until 2 months from now. But what matters now is he's being honored on senior day for graduating, and I just feel like this is going to be his day. Obviously, Sampson, like you mentioned, Andrews meant a lot to this program with an up and down career. Hassan Diarra has played 2 years and has two titles. Matt's pick, but Caravan, obviously, he's also played 2 years, two titles, but he's been a starter. He's been the face of UConn, I feel like, all season long, good or bad, but mostly good. Not for him though. He's had a bit of a rough stretch. That was harsh for me to say. I shouldn't have done that. But he's been the face of the Huskies all season long. He this is chances his last game at Gamble Pavilion. I expect him to go out with a bang. Will I say career high? Probably not, but I expect him to knock down 3 or 4 threes, have a similar performance to that he did in the Marquette game, and hopefully he continues his hot streak. He scored 17 plus in 4 out of the last 6 games. That's correct math, right? Yeah, 4 out of the last 6 he scored 17 plus. Hopefully he can continue that trend on Saturday. Are you guys have anything else from what's our last regular season episode of the year, which is crazy to already say. It's gone by very fast. This is episode of the season. It's episode 43, which is already the most we've done in a single season of the show. I'm not upset about it. I love doing these. You guys love listening to these. But yeah, it's crazy to think we've already done more this year than any of the other past 2 years, and we haven't even hit the postseason yet.
Yeah, I threw up the little three there because it was our third completed regular season, and we have two national championships going for number 3 this year. I mean, hopefully we can keep this streak alive, but I want to thank everybody who's kind of stuck with us. I mean, we have some loyal commenters and people who watch and, a couple times a week, and it means a lot. Even if we have one comment, that's still one more comment than I expect. So it's it means a lot to kind of um have you guys enjoy watching our stuff and continue to listen to our crazy takes and crazy opinions every week.
Yeah, I don't know why you listen to us, but you guys do, and we appreciate it. But a lot of pressure on both the team and us over the next month or so because, as we mentioned, not as often as we should on this podcast. We've done it for 2 years. They've won two national championships. Doesn't look like as much of a cakewalk this year. Not that it was a cakewalk the first year, the second year, I feel like it was, but not as much of a cakewalk. Will we continue the show if we don't win a championship? Probably, yeah. But it's funny to have it on the table. We're axing how about the Huskies if we don't win a third straight. But yeah, so if anyone at UConn or any of the players are listening for some reason, we are canceling the show if you don't win a title. So pressure is on you. That's not true. If you click off after I say that, that's not true. But yeah, next time you hear from us, it'll probably be a Big East tournament preview because we will know the bracket. we'll probably maybe do something special for that. Maybe it'll just be a typical preview. We don't know yet. We have a few days to figure that out, but that's always a fun episode every year that we do it. So be sure to tune in for that one. And yeah, thank you guys for watching.